Prior to the December 1970 elections in Pakistan, raw sources inside army, political and diplomatic circle of Pakistan had given clear indications that in case Sheikh Mujibur Rahman got a majority, he would not be allowed to rule Pakistan. RAW also predicts that the authorities would have to resort to large-scale use of the army and other paramilitary forces in East Pakistan to curb a movement which has already gained considerable strength. The use of force is likely, in turn, to lead to a situation where the people of East Pakistan, supported by elements of the East Bengal Rifles, may rise in revolt against the central authority and even declare their independence. RAW also suggested that it would be desirable that the government of India should think about the policy it should adopt in such an eventuality and keep its options open. The general elections held in 1970 resulted in East Pakistan's Awami League gaining 167 out of 169 seats for the East Pakistan Legislative Assembly and a near absolute majority in the 313-seat National Assembly. However, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto endorsed the veto and subsequently refused to yield the premiership of Pakistan to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The Awami League called for general strikes in the country. President Yahya Khan postponed the inauguration of the National Assembly, causing a shattering disillusionment to the Awami League and their supporters throughout East Pakistan. In reaction, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman called for general strikes that eventually shut down the government, and dissidents in the East began targeting the ethnic Bihari community, which had supported West Pakistan. President Yahya Khan called on the military, which was overwhelmingly led by West Pakistanis, to suppress dissent in the East after accepting the resignation of Lieutenant General Yaqub Ali Khan. West Pakistan also started shifting huge army reinforcements to East Pakistan by air route over India. RAW Chief Mr. R&AW planned a very meticulous operations to stop these air route over India. On 30th January 1971, an Indian Airlines plane Ganga was hijacked from Srinagar through a raw source and taken to Lahore airport. All 26 passengers were released and the plane was set on fire. This was an outdated plane which was due to be dumped soon. The Indian government immediately banned overflights going from West to East Pakistan. This action of CAW hampered the transportation of men and material from air route, although Pakistan continued it via Colombo but slowed down this process in view of the international outcry. Sensing the turmoil in neighborhood, then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi thought of using the Tibetan Force (SFF) to conduct guerrilla warfare within East Pakistan. She mentioned this to R&AW, the Research and Analysis Wing, RAW Chief. Mr. Kao sent Mr. Yuban, the SFF chief, as an expert in unconventional guerrilla warfare and asked him to study the situation by visiting the border areas and to submit a report, which he did after a hurried visit to the affected border areas. Yuban proposed to conduct guerrilla operations in the Chittagong hills in order to cut the retreat route of the Pakistani troops. Yuban had two fighting forces under his command, the SFF as a commando force and the Mujib Bahini, the Bangladeshi force. In early 1971, the Tibetan force heard that during a special meeting called by the Indian Army in New Delhi, Brig Yuban had volunteered to lead the establishment 22 in the Bangladesh Liberation War. Through Brigadier Yuban, the force was in direct contact with the RAW Chief R&AW. Once the decision to participate in the operations was taken, India started inducting SFF elements into Bangladesh as early as February 1971. The SFF unit was divided into 3 units and each unit was led by Dhondak Gyatotsang, Pekar Thinle and Ratuk Nagwang, brigadier level officer of Tibetan origin. To cover up the operation, the SFF was provided with US-supplied weapons used in Vietnam War and Bulgaria AK-47 assault rifles. The SFF started reconnaissance missions with Mujib Bahini guerrillas along the Chittagong hill tracts. In March 1971, Pakistan President Yahya Khan tried to mediate between Mr. Bhutto and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. They all met at Dhaka to find a solution to this stalemate. At the same time, the army was being prepared for a campaign to neutralize a budding rebellion and save the unity of Pakistan. However, the talk between President Yahya Khan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman broke down and General Yahya Khan flew back to Karachi in 25th March 1971. After President Yahya Khan returned to Karachi, Pakistan Army started Operation Searchlight in the night of 25th March 1971. General Tika Khan also sent to East Pakistan to teach Mujib Bahini a lesson. The army struck against the Awami League and its supporters on the night of 25th March 1971. Mujib was arrested and flown secretly to a prison in West Pakistan. Dhaka University was fired upon, and a large number of Bengali students and intellectuals were taken into custody. Scores were transported to a remote location outside the city and summarily executed. Bengali armed resistance, which came to be called the Mujib Bahini, took form from disaffected Bengalis in the Pakistan Army and others who were prepared to fight what they now judged to be an alien army. The escalation of violence provoked a mass movement of people, the majority of whom sought refuge in India. This heavy influx of refugees included a good portion of the Hindus who had remained in East Bengal after partition, but many were Muslims. The heavy influx of East Pakistan refugees creates a heavy burden on Indian economy. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi decided that it is economical to go for war with Pakistan to stem the flow of refugees than feeding 10 million additional people. Prime Minister Gandhi called upon Indian Army Chief General Manekshaw and asked him to prepare for an invasion of East Pakistan. However, General Manekshaw asked for a 6-month time frame for preparation of invasion. Then Prime Minister Gandhi called upon RAW Chief Mr. R&AW and instructed him to prepare a groundwork for Indian Army's invasion of East Pakistan. After getting clearance, SFF Chief Uban launched covert Operation Eagle in East Pakistan. Additional units of SFF were airlifted from Chakrata in an 32 aircraft at night and landed near India-Pakistan border near Chittagong hill tracts. SFF along with Mujib Bahini mingled with local people and started sabotaging act inside East Pakistan. The task to establishment 22 was clear: damage the Pakistani military positions and kill as many Pak soldiers as possible, destroy the bridges, military infrastructures, and restrain the Pakistani military movement. Divided in 3 columns, their hit and run modus operandi and the task specified were to create a situation that when the Indian Army would move, they could march through the Chittagong hills and plains without much resistance from the Pakistanis. The Pakistani 97th Independent Brigade and their 2nd Commando Battalion of SSG were positioned strategically in Chittagong. The guerrillas successfully restrained them in their respective positions and also cut off all escape routes. Pakistani soldiers were seeing ghosts in all the shadows and they were fighting against merciless ghosts who were always on the prowl, would swoop down from nowhere and mercilessly eliminate them and destroy the posts and would immediately vanish. Within 1 month of their operations, the Tibetan guerrillas virtually cleaned up the Chittagong area, and when the Indian army moved in, they did not face much resistance at all. About one-third of SFF's full strength was deployed adjacent to the Chittagong hill tracts disguised as Mujib Bahini. They captured many towns and garrisons in the Chittagong hill tracts in continuous fighting of about 1 month. From March to October 1971, SFF along with Mujib Bahini carried out secret operations against Pakistani troops capturing border posts and garrisons. Meanwhile, Operation Jackpot was also launched by Mujib Bahini to destroy the port facilities. By end of October 1971, the East Pakistan Army was mainly confined to its barracks, as all supply routes from air and sea routes were blocked by Indian Army, Navy and Air Force along with Mujib Bahini. To relieve Indian Army pressure in the East, Pakistan Air Force opened a new front in West by attacking Indian Air Force installations on 3rd December 1971. Pakistan Army also attacked Longewala post in Jaisalmer sector. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared war on Pakistan, which was broadcasted in All India Radio on 3rd December 1971. Indian Army conveniently penetrated into the eastern fronts and crossed East Pakistan's borders to join their Bengali nationalist allies. The army adopted a swift, three-pronged assault of 9 infantry divisions along with supported units.
The East Pakistan Army was trapped inside Bangladesh with no outside support and without reinforcements for a long time. The morale of the Pakistan Army was at all-time low, with defections and continuous attacks by Mujib Bahini and Indian Secret Force. The Indian campaign's bleeder-create techniques exploited weaknesses in the Pakistani positions and bypassed opposition. This resulted in a swift victory. Faced with insurmountable losses, the Pakistani military capitulated in less than a fortnight. When the Chittagong port was captured by Indian military, the SFF were then asked to cede quiet. However, on December 16, when the Pakistan Army surrendered at Dhaka, the SFF troopers for the first time come out in the streets of Chittagong. The common people were stunned by their sudden appearance, happy and rejoicing virtually from nowhere. Even many Indian soldiers who were also not aware of their presence in the vicinity were taken by surprise. Farewell parade for the victorious Indian Army was organized in Dhaka, and Sak Mujibur Rahman inspected the parade. However, the phantom of Chittagong vanished once again to shadows after getting order from their chief general S. Uban. Tibetan guerrillas were arguably the main force that played the key role in Chittagong in the 71 war, sacrificing 49 including one of their top leader and 190 injured. They could not be officially recognized. The Indian government gave awards to 580 members of the force for their active involvement and bravery in the battles. The contribution made by SFF in liberating East Pakistan was great, and the price paid by the force was also high.